Apocalypse Gaming.
Hey there folks, well thanks to my friends over at the Airbrush company, I've got a product review for you today. It's from Sparmax. It's one of their new ARISM mini compressors, and rather than sitting here staring at the box, let's crack it open and have a wee look at actually what it's like. So here we have the compressor, guys. As we can see, it is not a big beastie at all. In fact, it's really quite compact. It's 16 centimeters by 17 centimeters and only 9 centimeters wide. So it's a really compact compressor. If you've got any storage issues, or if you're wanting to use it as a portable compressor to carry around with you, whether you're going to your gaming club and actually brushing there, or whether you're using it for other things, it's really small, it's really compact, so it's portable. Weight wise, it's not heavy either. It's 2.5 kilos, 5.5 pounds, so it's not a heavy compressor either. So as we see, held up by one pinky. So it comes with a 2 metre long braided hose with a 1/8 BSP fitting, which is the same as your Iwatas as well, and I also believe it's the same as at least some Pachets. I don't know if it's the same as all Pachets. The power cable is not quite as long as the 2 metres, it's about 1.8 metres, and is fitted to it rather than separate, so it's a fitted in moulded piece to the actual compressor with your on off switch at the back there. Now it also comes with an airbrush holder fitted into the handle, so your airbrush can go there. And I've just realised this is a much better way of actually showing you the size of the compressor as well, rather than just telling you 16 by 17 centimeters. Because if we hold an airbrush up next to it, it really gives you an idea. That's my Sparmax Max 4, my HPC for my Iwata, my Neo TRN1, so it gives you an impression. Chinese, generic, gives you an impression of what it's like size wise, because if you've handled an airbrush before, you can see roughly what it's like. The compressor, it is not a big compressor, it is small, it is portable, it is something you can take with you wherever you want to go. So the compressor has a working pressure from 0 to 28 psi, folks. The way you adjust the pressure is on this dial that we have on the front. Now, the thing I see as a drawback, and something I'm not particularly keen with on this particular compressor though, is the fact that the gauge here is 0 through to 5. I would have preferred a dial showing the actual PSI you're working at. Other people may not. Other people may like the fact that you dial it into 1 or dial it into 2, 3, 4 or 5, depending on what you want to do. I like to know the exact PSI I'm working at. Maybe it's because what I'm used to. Maybe this is a better way of doing it, but it's my personal preference is I would prefer a dial showing 0 through to 28, or more properly, probably 0 through to 40, with the actual gauge being able to get up to 28, and that way you would know if it went above pressure by accident if something was going wrong. But it's a small quirk, it's something it's livable with from using it. You just dial it into the pressure you want, and for beginners that might actually be a better way, because they might not be as scared, and they just dial it into, well, I'm doing something detail, I want it down at low, so I'll dial it into 1. I'm doing some big massive base coating, so let's pump it up to 5. It might actually be a better system for someone like that. So there's pros and there's cons to it. Me personally, from being used to using the airbrush, I would have liked the dial, which I believe the bigger brother in this range, which is the other ARISM one, does have that dial. So smaller portable one doesn't, but the bigger brother does. So then I've connected it up to my Iwata HPC, and let's see what it's like running. Now, one of the things that you'll immediately notice is, because it's a tankless compressor, is that it's running straight off. There's no chamber to hold the air in, or the only chamber is the actual compressor itself. There's no extra tank to hold the air in, is probably a better way of saying that. Now, some compressors have an auto cut off, so that when you're not wanting any air to go through it, they don't actually go through, such as, again, its bigger brother. The bigger brother of this compressor will sit here nice and quietly on your desk when you're not using it, but this one as soon as you turn it on at the back, it's running. You've got about 30 minutes that you can run this compressor for. As you can hear now, I'm putting air through it, the decibels have went up a little bit. They actually sit about 49 decibels, which is not very loud for a compressor. Chinese ones that I've owned are louder than this, a good considerable amount louder than this. It's also very stable and very static, unlike my Chinese compressors that I've used in the past, where you get a bit of vibration running through them as they're sitting on the desk. This is solid, it's stable, it's not going anywhere, there's no bouncing up and down that you can get with some of the other compressors, so it is a stable little compressor. When you turn your compressor off, no matter which compressor it is, including this one, just eject any extra air that's in the hose and is sitting in the actual compression part of it as well. It just takes the pressure out of it. It also means if you go to disconnect your airbrush, you don't get the big blast of air, so always just release the trigger to let the air out of it when you're done there. Not sure if I said there, running time for this is 30 minutes maximum, and then you need to let it cool down. Let it cool down for between 10 and 15 minutes is the recommended before you go to use it again. So you can use it reasonably length of time. I personally don't airbrush for longer than 30 minutes at a time anyway. Generally I'm doing things back and forward rather than straight brushing for 30 minutes, so that's perfectly workable, something you can certainly use and work with easily. So I guess it's now time to get on to the most important thing. How does it perform when spraying? I'm going to use my Iwata HPC for the test to see how the actual compressor works and how it performs, and I've got it dialed up to 5 to start with, and we'll dial it down to a lower pressure. So, good steady airflow. There's not much sputtering, which is something that you can get with tankless compressors. Again, basing it on the Chinese brushes, the Chinese compressors that I've used, there's a lot more sputtering with them. I can detect a little bit of sputtering through the brush, I can feel it, but it's really fast sputtering rather than big individual pulses, which I've experienced when I've used other people's compressors. So yes, it's there, but it's really really fast, which will reduce some of the issues with the sputtering that you get with tankless compressors. So that's something useful. This is at 5, so let's drop the pressure down. I've dropped the pressure right down to 0, and have I just ran out of stuff? No, I've not. So at lower pressure it is struggling with the Iwata. As we can see, I'm finding it harder to get those lines. So let's put the pressure back up a bit. So I'm sitting at 3 on its dial, and the brush is performing as I'd expect it to again. So down at the most bottom pressure, the Iwata brush doesn't perform just exactly as I would like it to. Hey ho, we'll try it with a Sparmax brush as well and see what happens. And the sputtering itself I was talking about is bump, 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 bump on the lower pressures as well. So on the higher pressure it's not so much an issue. On the lower pressure, yes, you do get some sputtering with the type of compressor it is, being a tankless compressor. Let's change brushes and see how we get on. So this time round I'm using my Sparmax Max 4 airbrush. Again, I'm dialed up to 5. And absolutely no issues there. Let's just start dialing it down a wee bit. So down to about 3 and it's still running, absolutely no issues. And again, when I'm getting down below 3 down to about 2, I'm encountering the same sort of issues on the wider dispersal that I got. Taking it in close, still getting a line, but a little bit of speckling, I suppose you could call it, but the paint's still coming out and it's a technique you could use. And it's possibly down to my incompetence for not being used to working at such low pressures. So still getting the paint flow, and that's about 1.5 on its dial. And again, still getting the paint flow as I did with the Iwata, down at 1, just getting that speckling effect much more pronounced than what I'm used to, but again, that could be me not used to working at these pressures. But the paint's still nice and smooth and coming out. At the wider dispersals, you're not going to get much like that, as you can see. But keeping it down, keeping it to a low paint flow. Oops, put that somewhere on camera, it can be seen. To a thin paint flow. As you can see, we're still getting more paint coming out, no bother. Okay then, so now that I've used it, what do I actually think of it? I like it. I like it for its size. I like it the fact it's portable. I like it the fact it's not particularly noisy. Chinese compressors that I've used in the past, of similar size, similar nature, apart from the fact they're a hell of a lot more ugly, I've also been a hell of a lot more noisy. So that's something I like about it. I like the fact that when in use, it's relatively vibration free. Again, the Chinese compressors that I've used are quite a lot of vibration coming out of them, almost bouncing around your table level. This isn't, it's solid, it stays in place, so it's not affecting your work or your workflow because you're not worried about your compressor bouncing off your table or bouncing around the floor because there's so much vibration going through them, which is something I've experienced with Chinese compressors that I've owned. I know it's reliable as well, so it's a good little introductory starter compressor, or a good little portable compressor if you're wanting to take it round and do stuff at shows, or you want to take it to your gaming club and paint in your gaming club, or if you came across this video because you're doing some other form of hobby, say you're a cake decorator or you're into painting nails. It's a good little compressor that you can take and do whatever it is you're doing out with your own home. Or if you don't have a lot of room to store a lot of kit, again, it packs away nice, neat and compact. You could keep it in its original box if you want, but it actually packs away a hell of a lot neater without putting it in its box because it is such a compact little compressor. So yes, I like it. There is a however though. The however is, it doesn't come with a moisture trap. I use this moisture trap personally. It's the Silver Bullet inline moisture trap. It is again from Sparmax. I own it because it's pretty. I like this one, it looks good. Iwata do one, again in the 1/8 BSP fittings, so it's interchangeable with this or the Sparmax one. I just don't think it looks as good. They both do pretty much the same job. Performance wise, I don't think there's much between them. So it comes down to which one you like the most, because they're both about the same cost as well. This one's slightly longer than the Iwata. The Iwata's more stubby but broader. So this can be used as a handle basically as well when you're brushing. So it's the one downside, it doesn't come with a moisture trap. The reason you want your moisture trap is it's a tankless compressor, so you will get some moisture building up with continual use. The longer you use it, the hotter it gets, the more moisture you're going to have coming through the hose. So you want something to catch that moisture so it's not coming out in your paint flow and damaging your work. So these cost about a tenner. So that means you're talking £95 for the compressor, and you really should be buying one of these as well, taking you to the £105. And that's where the next however comes in, because its bigger brother is 125 quid. So you're really talking 105 quid with having to buy one of these, or 125 quid for its bigger brother. And its bigger brother does a slightly higher PSI. The actual compressor is size-wise not much different. It's a centimetre or so in each dimension, but it also comes with the way I prefer my pressure to be displayed, which is on the glass display. And it's got an auto cut off when you're not shooting air through it. So whereas this compressor I need to turn on and turn off, turn on and turn off, it's switching it back. I know, it's a chore, first world problems, turn it on, turn it off. But it's still something that interrupts the workflow, which is why auto cut-offs exist in the first place. The bigger one comes with the auto cut-off as well. So it may be worth, if you are considering this, also look at some of the reviews of its slightly bigger brother and see which one is more suited to your needs. Of the two, I think the bigger one is possibly slightly more suited to the way I use a compressor, but it doesn't mean it's going to be slightly more suited to the way you use a compressor. It comes down to the way your workflow works and not my workflow. I like it though. It's good, it's reliable. Being Sparmax, it's got a 2-year warranty as well. I know it's quality engineering, unlike the Chinese compressors that I've owned in the past. I've had one Chinese compressor literally explode on me. I know there'll be people out there that will be in the comments section, I've had my Chinese compressor 5 years. It's still fine, good, yours is working for you. Personal experience, two of mine's actually didn't. I've had 2 die, both in under a year of ownership of each of them. And one of them was catastrophic, so much so that I will not touch them again because I don't want me getting hurt personally. I mean, these are pieces of kit that if they go drastically wrong could harm you. The housing, when that other one exploded, kept everything in it, but it still exploded. So I just won't touch them, hence why quality manufacturers is the only way I'll look. Sparmax have been around a long time. They've got relationships, I believe, with Iwata as well. I don't know how that works. You can do your own research on it. But I like their kit. It's a pretty piece of kit. It's a light piece of kit. It's portable, so if you're taking it to gaming shows, as I say, if you're doing cake decorating, nails, whatever, it's something that's easy to move around, and it's tiny. It really is a tiny little compressor for storage if you don't have a lot of room. So yeah, it's a thumbs up. It's a good compressor. It's not as powerful or as capable as some of the much more expensive compressors, but you do get what you pay for. And that also holds true with this. You get what you pay for. It is a good compressor. You can buy cheaper alternatives out there, but for size, they're not as powerful. Size-wise, this is a powerful little quiet compressor. So yeah, hopefully that's been interesting. Hopefully it's gave you enough information on it. The one addition, if you do buy this one, is get yourself one of the moisture traps, whether it be this one, whether it be the Iwata's. It really doesn't make much of a difference in performance. It makes a difference in how it sits in your hand and how it looks. I'll do a separate review on this as well at some point, just so you can get an idea of this in action and how it looks and how it works. But otherwise, thanks for watching, and everyone, take care.
Apocalypse Gaming.